Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 18th, 2024 Worcester Township Board of Supervisors work session. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Good evening, folks. I'm going to dispense with the introductions. I think you both know everyone up here, and if you don't, then we're just going to have to move forward in terms of that. First and foremost, does anybody have any informational items for the board tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This meeting is being recorded for future broadcast.
Thank you, Christian. First item up, we have public comment. Does anybody have any public comment for the board this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. This is our work session. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the 2025 preliminary budget presentation. We have Nicole here, who's our finance director, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Nicole, and roll us on, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so first I would like to begin by noting that this is a draft budget and numbers will change. Starting off with taxes, the budget includes no new taxes and no increase to existing taxes. Worcester Township's real estate tax rate is proposed to remain at 120 of 1 mil, which is presently the lowest municipal real estate tax rate in Montgomery County. And I expect that we will continue to have the lowest real estate tax rate in 2025. As far as personnel at this time, the Public Works Director does not believe an additional full-time laborer will be needed in the coming year. Our current complement of full and part-time employees will meet our needs in 2025. We will review this issue again as we prepare the budget for 2026. For the general fund, first and foremost, this is balanced. At this time, the EIT, which is our primary revenue, is projected to receive 3.6 million in 2025. Currently, in 2024, we're projected to receive 3.4 million. The budget includes 250,000 in real estate transfer taxes in the coming year. 490,000 is projected this year. This number assumes the transfers of existing residential properties and no transfers of commercial properties or large tracts of land, which historically have occurred on an infrequent basis. As to expenditures, the budget anticipates an increase to health insurance premiums, and that amount of that increase will be calculated at the time Divot confirms the amount of rate stabilization dollars available for use. While we wait to receive those numbers, we currently have budgeted a 10% increase from this current year. Something to keep in mind is that the premiums now are being paid at 10% below the actual premium billed in 2020. This is made possible by the use of the rate stabilization dollars in the years since. So while the township will likely pay more in 2025, the budget will still be below the actual premium billed. In other words, instead of paying 10% less that billed in 2020, we might be paying that billed in 2021. The budget includes a 5% increase to our annual operating contribution to our volunteer firefighter department to $193,930 and retains a capital contribution in the amount of $172,000. This number does not include the cost of workers' compensation coverage that is provided by the township as required by state law, nor does this number include the Act 205 pass-through aid to the Department's Relief Association, which is budgeted at approximately $106,000. In addition to providing additional financial support to our volunteer fire company, the township is working to support those employees who serve as volunteer firefighters during weekdays when the department is in most need of help. 5 years ago, the township funded a monthly stipend for those who volunteer to answer the call for help, and the response has been tremendous. At this time, 7 township employees serve as volunteer firefighters. The proposed 2025 budget includes the continuation of the monthly stipends. Lastly, the general fund will transfer dollars to the capital fund at the end of next year. This revenue will provide for needed capital projects like our annual road program. The transfer amount will be refined in the coming weeks as we adjust the budget to reflect receipt and expenditure estimates. But at this time, the transfer is projected to be around $970,000. For the capital fund, we will be undertaking sizable capital projects in the coming year. At the top of the list is the annual road program. The township will continue to provide an augmented resurfacing program, which will help to keep our roads in good condition, maximizing the useful life of the network. The capital fund will provide $721,000 toward the road program, which, when coupled with dollars from our liquid fuels fund, will provide a $1.1 million road program in 2025. And remember, this does not include soft costs like design, bidding, and inspections, or the many smaller fixes made by our Public Works Department throughout the year. In addition, the capital fund also funds a bridge repair on Green Hill Road and a few MS4 projects. Some capital improvements included in the budget for parks and trails include repairing the Sunnybrook Pavilion roof, several upgrades to Heiser Field, the paving of Zacharias Trail, and the repairing of fences at Heidner and Sunnybrook Park. Lastly, the capital fund will provide for the replacement of public works vehicles and equipment that have reached the end of their useful life, including the replacement of a pickup truck, a dump truck, and a mower. The capital budget also includes the purchase of a portable fuel cell, which provides a reliable, eco-friendly power source for our remote projects. Additionally budgeted is also a mobile aerial lift designed for versatility and ease of use, allowing public works to access hard-to-reach areas safely and efficiently. This new equipment not only streamlines our workflow, but also ensures that we can tackle projects with greater precision and effectiveness. The sewer fund. In 2017, the township contracted with a new wastewater operator, and since this time, operations at our 2 wastewater plants and 6 pumping stations are running very well. As to sewer rates, the budget presently includes a 1% increase to residential rates in 2025, which translates to approximately 50 cents per month increase for each home on the township system. A 1% increase to commercial sewer rates is also proposed. The sewer fund currently provides $90,000 for capital improvements throughout the coming year. Just like our roadway network, the sanitary sewer system requires regular upkeep to maximize the useful life of its components like blowers, pumps, and meters. For the liquid fuels fund, since this time the township's annual allocation has decreased by 3% when controlled for the rows added to our inventory. The estimated 2025 liquid fuels allocation is expected to be received by month end. For many municipalities, the annual liquid fuels allocation is the annual road maintenance budget. Our community does not adopt this approach. Worcester does not assume that the annual liquid fuels allocation is adequate to meet our real road maintenance needs, an approach that is more important now more than ever. As previously mentioned, we budget additional dollars in both general fund and capital fund to meet this obligation. Next steps. The township will continue to monitor our receipts and expenditures and make adjustments to the budget where warranted. We'll include new numbers like the insurance premium and the estimated liquid fuels allocation when they are received. And we'll present the budget at the October 16th business meeting. The budget will be presented once again in November, then advertised for a 20-day public inspection period, and a public hearing will be conducted in December. And that's it.
Thank you, Nicole. So I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions, and I'll let everybody else jump in as well. As we've talked about in the past, the budgeting is an ongoing living, breathing process that we do year-round and do our best to sort of try to be proactive on as many items as we can. It's obviously a pretty exhaustive process that we go to, and certainly a big thank you to the staff, just in all the time and effort that goes into preparing this information and tracking this information and keeping an eye on everything. So I know that the board appreciates all that. I know we just got some information from Unicole, in terms of the numbers and then the numbers behind the numbers, and it's it's certainly quite a bit of information. I know we've just started getting through that. I have one ask so in the information we have here, like we have the general fund as an example, and we have another account under expense. And I think it's primarily the capital transfer that's in there, but it's $1 million in essence on that line item. And sometimes we've got a couple of things that sometimes show up, and questions have been raised from time to time where we look at something and it's a large number and we don't really know what's behind it. I'm assuming that's largely like the capital transfer that we're doing at year end, but if we could maybe just get a little more, I don't love other, just, I don't mind $10 and other, but $1 million is a bigger number if we could get a little more context on some of that stuff.
I sent you three have that information. You have the additional
Correct.
what it is.
Correct, but it's sort of a general comment that in a couple places, if we've got a fairly large number on one of these line items and it's not as obvious as others, it might be helpful to have you, or even just an asterisk with a comment that makes reference to maybe extraneous items in terms of that. I want to talk about staffing for a minute with the board. I know the information we got initially talked about potentially one administrative person. I know, Dan, obviously you're just getting your feet wet in terms of that. But there's, do we want to consider budgeting any additional funds for any additional hiring? Or maybe the question is just sort of taking the staff to look a little more closely between today and until next month, to see whether we've allocated properly for staffing. One of the items that came up in our audit this year is we're a smaller staff, and sometimes as a smaller staff, it's hard sometimes to do separation of duties and different things, and I just want to throw it out there. If you budget for it, doesn't mean we need to hire it, but I'm just thinking in terms of whether or not it makes any sense for us to at least be considering making sure that we're staffed properly in anticipation. I know Bob said he doesn't think he needs another public works guy, but there might be projects and things where we think we can expand what they do, and I don't know that we should budget for that or not. I'm really just throwing it out there as a question for us to consider at this point, and obviously we'd want to budget for it if we think that makes sense, but I don't want to just sort of putting it out there as a thought.
Mr. Chairman, we're conducting an internal review of those numbers, and I expect to have that in front of you for before you see this budget around a second time. So
okay,
maybe some tweaks and stuff for you guys to review and give some feedback on at that point.
that sounds good. And then I'm going to say it because last year the question got raised on interest income that and ironically enough, today we had a half-point interest rate change, so it'll be tougher. It went in the right direction or the wrong direction, depending on how you look at it. But the interest income will go down, but borrowing costs will also go down. So maybe that's a good thing, ultimately. But anything we can do to make sure those numbers, obviously hard to do, but we want to do our best. We obviously had a very good year for interest income across our different funds in 2024, or actually 2023 and 24. So certainly we like that, but we want to try to budget that as effectively as we can, knowing that that's a moving target in terms of that. And on either side, you guys want to chime in on any thoughts, ideas, concepts, anything relative to the budget?
Rick, I guess the first question or the first comment I'll make is about the staffing issue. I think 8 years ago, 10 years ago, we hired Lee Magnum, and Lee thought we needed 10 more people in the office.
Right.
Tommy Ryan comes in and said we had too many in the office. We hired Sean, and Sean says we got to hire more people. So I think your point's well taken. Um, Now it's Rob's turn to investigate the staffing needs in the township. I've always been a person saying that I think you need the proper balance to get the work done, especially in the road crew. I said that the more things we can do internally, um, rather than going out to the outside contractors. And I think the high reach machine would be a good step, especially with the tree maintenance we have in the township. It's a big issue, but as far as the staff's concerned, I think that's important that we're able to serve the customers when they come in, the customers being all the township residents or the contractors that come in. I think it's important, once again, and I think Rob can evaluate that as we move forward. Um, my other question is, once again, it happened about a year ago, acquiring the new building down here to the left. And I'm not sure if that's in limbo. You know, we talked about getting an historical person coming in, looking at the age of the building and stuff. And, well, a wood shingle roof put on by the Amish from Lancaster County, I know they may not be certified to do the historical uh, way it should be done, but they do them on their barn roofs all the time. But I think it's important for us to, if Rob's looked at that building yet, internally and externally, we want to ensure we maintain it before it starts deteriorating more than it has. I know the roof's in rough shape, and before the floorboards inside the building start deteriorating, I think it'd be good for us to look into that. The other item, question is, I know the school district is buzzing around about putting a new school up, and I guess they need a lot of variances and things. That's the rumor on the street. Yeah, there's mixed concerns about that, you know, where the township gets involved in that. You know, that's a school district situation first. They have to come up what they're going to do, then they present it to the township. So really, except for, I believe in a formal meeting with Rob one time that lasted about a half hour, just presenting maybe a wish list or some of the things they want to do, we haven't gone much further than that. So for the residents of the township that have approached me or the other people out there thinking that the township has signed off on it, we really haven't evaluated the whole new school concept yet. A lot of moving figures in there from the traffic flow. A lot of people are concerned about the traffic in the area already. I don't think the school buses are utilized anymore. If you can look at a school bus in any school district, you may see 8, 10, 12 heads on it. My son travels from over Mars Road to the middle school, and I think he has anywhere from 7 to 10 kids on his bus. And Worcester is a large place, and you can't pick more kids up than that. The problem is a lot of the parents are driving their kids, middle school as well as the high school. And I had a phone call from a neighbor over there and said it takes him 45 minutes to get out of his driveway some days around the school. It's just a real problem. And he thinks with the new addition over there, it's only going to get worse. So there are a lot of things we have to consider while looking at that. Not saying yay or nay on the building, but the township really hasn't got involved in really looking at it yet. The school district's trying to figure out what they're going to do. So um, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Just to add, as far as like the budget, and again, Dan, I think's gonna do a wonderful job, but as far as like our roads, we gotta budget the right amount of money for our road program. We also have grants out there for the Crable Mill Bridge. There's another grant out there for the stormwater project on Quarry Hall, Griffith. So, and I think there's other projects involved. So again, we just need to make sure that we have our share of the budget funded if and when the grants show up. And that's a big important thing. As far as the other things Steve and Rick mentioned, yeah, they're all important. Everything's important. So we have all the faith in the world in you, Nicole. Don't let us down. You won't, because you're the only one who knows what's really going on in them books. But that's okay. You're doing a wonderful job. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. And then just informationally, how will we get the information out to the public? Will that be up on the website? Do we put a draft by? And again, I just forget exactly how we do it. Obviously, we're getting information as a board, but how are we going to communicate that to the public between now and when it becomes sort of advertised officially in November? Are we able to put any of that up as a draft or no? Do we know?
Currently in the packet tonight, there was a draft in there. And so that's also posted to our website.
Okay.
And then before next meeting, it'll be the same thing that was given out tonight,
Okay.
just with updated numbers.
So,
And then the actual full budget won't be made available until it's advertised. And then that will be put on the website.
gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. So, okay.
It's on the website and the public portal.
Right. So what we want to do for October, guys, is we want to make sure that we not just publish it to the website, but we physically print copies, as many as we need, so that anybody who comes to the meeting will get whatever information is available for that, please. Yeah, no worries. But that's certainly, and that's part of, just information, that'll be part of the business meeting, not a work session in October. It'll be part of the business meeting and we'll have a more detailed discussion on it in terms of that. But let's just make sure we physically have copies here on that particular, because there certainly might be some questions that people have on that particular item. Okay. Fair enough. I think that's fine right now for the budget. I don't have any specific questions other than we just need to dig through a lot of the numbers and be prepared to discuss it in more detail in October. If there's particular items that are of any interest to any board member, just communicate that to Dan so he can make sure he's getting it to all of us between now and October. So any discussions we want to have on any significant items beyond what's already in there, that we just have time to review that in front of October.
Rick, I think that I think the people I've talked to about the new school building, they think it's coming out of the township coffers. It's really coming out of our taxes, but it's a separate, as Nicole mentioned, where our tax rate is compared to the rest of the county, it's rather low. The largest, or I should say mostly all of the taxes you pay essentially either go to the county or the school district. We get such a small piece of that pie, so our budgeting process doesn't really get involved with the addition of the high school or the work they're doing there. Is two separate pots of money. We don't give any money to the school district. They may be coming into the township to look for waivers, and there's fees associated with that, and the township board has to weigh the options of not waiving the fees or charging the fees, and it's going to come out of your pocket one way or the other, out of the school district money or the raising a taxes somewhere else. So it's just I don't say a trade-off, but we have to make that decision as far as some of the fees and things and the variances they want. So,
Correct. So, but certainly to your point, we're not contributing dollars. It's not something that we're budgeting into our budget. If they ultimately go down that road, that's a separate funding, if you will, that they have to deal with. Does anybody else have any other business they wish to bring before the board for our work session tonight? Okay, fair enough. And I'll also we have a few minutes before our business meeting. If anybody has any public comment they'd like to make regarding the work session. Okay, seeing none, then motion to adjourn.